Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Again, this is Laura Ladd with Mosaic Consulting Group, and we are so glad to bring you Cognos Analytics Upgrade, A Brave New World, our webinar on the recent upgrade to Cognos Analytics. As you guys know, the new version is the most significant change in over a decade. Those of you who have gotten a little taste of it probably already know that the new version is a bit challenging to navigate for the first time. A lot of things look different and feel different, but mostly function the same. But the upgrade also provides everyone some fantastic new capabilities, and so that's what we're going to get into today. This webinar is going to focus on what's the same, what's new, and what is no longer within Cognos Analytics. And we will walk you through the new environment, provide some time for your questions. And I wanted to introduce our featured speaker today, our presenter, Randy Mcleod, who is our Senior Ulti-Pro Business Intelligence Specialist at Mosaic. Randy's an authority in the area of business intelligence and leads our BI strategy and tool development here at Mosaic. And in addition to a career-long business software development background, he has led BI strategy, development, and learning at the University of Colorado, the University of Oregon, and Oppenheimer Funds. Before I turn it over to Randy, I just want to go over a couple of quick housekeeping items with you guys. If you would like to ask any questions as we go through this, feel free to jump in and send me a message via the chat box that you see at the bottom middle of your screen. And I will stop Randy and jump in with any questions you want him to address along the way. And if we have some time at the end, you can also ask your questions that way, and I will feed those to him collectively. Also, check that chat box at the end because we are going to point you to the blog that's on our website on this same subject. And tomorrow, look for an email from us with information on how to get to the blog to review it, a copy of this presentation today, as well as a recording of the webinar. So thanks again for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Randy.
Thanks, Laura. Good afternoon, everyone. My name again is Randy Mcleod, and this session is intended to kind of give you guys an orientation of the new Cognos Analytics. You've probably heard a lot about it. If you've seen it, like Laura said, there might be a level of frustration that you've experienced with it. And just like any upgrade, like Microsoft Office, something like that, for the most part, most of the capabilities that we had there in Cognos 10 are still here in Cognos Analytics. But there's some really exciting new capabilities in the system. Now, with us just having an hour today, we won't have the ability to show you every little nook and cranny of the new version, but we're going to walk you through it generally, and give you a good overview, help you navigate, hopefully make you feel more comfortable, reduce your tension and stress about this new version, and diminish maybe the fear of the unknown in this new version. So as Laura said, we're going to go over what's the same, what's gone, and what's kind of new in the new version of Cognos. So Cognos Analytics, quickly, is just the new next generation of business intelligence for Ulti-Pro. And it's great that IBM continues to work in this area. They're working on Watson Analytics, and it's doing wonderful things. This is an offshoot of Watson Analytics, and it's really a combination of Query Studio, Report Studio, and Analysis Studio. And it still incorporates some of the other capabilities of the system. So what you're going to see here, I'll bring up the interface here in a minute, but I have about 15 or so additional slides here I want to go over with you, and then we'll bop into the system and start working on it and navigating around and showing you how to do that. So what's the same in Cognos Analytics or Cognos 11? The same folder system that you were used to and when you logged into Ulti-Pro BI. You have all the same content that you had. You haven't lost anything. You still have system administration. You still have the same report building capabilities in details, and you're going to get a copy of this or have access to a copy of this presentation. is you'll still have the ability to do multiple queries, do SQL, deliver the reports in the formats that you always wanted, that you had the ability to do. You'll be able to execute your reports either on demand or through schedules, just exactly the way you had it before. And of course, our Event Studio notifications are still there. There's also some things I'm going to show you, just not necessarily trying to be doing a training session here, but there's a lot of things that are, somewhat hidden, tricky to find, but they're still out there. And this is a good little reference list of the primary tools that most developers will get into. So let's talk about what's gone. First of all and foremost, Cognos Connection's gone. It's been replaced. It's got a brand new user interface. If you've already gone through the upgrade, you've seen it. It's got a brand new welcome screen, and all the things that you're seeing here, this particular view is 100% gone. The ability to do public folders has been renamed. My folders has been renamed. The tabbed capability of delivering our dashboards or portal pages, that has gone away. Although the portal page capability, that framework still is supported by Cognos Analytics. What will happen when you run a dashboard from a folder is it will just open up in a new window on a separate tab, and you'll still be able to see any tabs that exist or were created with your dashboard in that new window. And hopefully the report will work the way it did before. In most cases, I think it has that we've seen. But you will still see the ability to get into some of these other things. The launch button is gone. We still have the search button, but this long chasm between the report names or folder names over here to the more capabilities, this entire interface has gone away. Along with that is with the combination of Query Studio, Report Studio, and Analysis Studio into the new reporting tool, Query Studio's gone away. But they gave us a very easy way of converting reports into their report tool, the new tool, and so it's really not going to pose any kind of a problem. As we mentioned before, the portal pages or portlets, these little tabs over here, they have gone away. So let's talk about a little bit about what's new. This is a picture of the new interface. It's got a brand new navigational panel here on the left. It's got a new panel that stays consistent throughout your experience while you're logged into UltiPro BI on the top. And then it's got a welcome page here in the middle that keeps track of all of the recent work that or content that you've accessed, whether it's reports or dashboards. This information will be maintained here. So there's some really great capabilities, but one of the neat things about this new interface is that it's highly scalable. You can hold your control key down and roll your mouse wheel, and it will scale things to be a little bit bigger for you, much like the zoom capability in the Windows framework that they had before. But this interface is consistent throughout. That left panel will remain, the top panel will remain, along with all these icons over here. Let's move on. So just a general list of some of the things that we're talking about here that's been added to Cognos Analytics is that welcome page, welcome portal. They're calling it a home page. There's a lot of different terminology being used for it. It's all about where you land when you log into UltiPro, and it's your primary source for accessing any of the BI content. So you'll have a single report development tool, and I'm distinguishing the report development versus dashboard development, because they have also delivered a brand new dashboarding tool that really simplifies your exploration of data. But along with, in both of these tools, we're going to see a lot more visualizations, a lot more graphical capabilities. So some brand new high-powered charting capabilities. The old 3D charting is still supported in the interface, in the reporting environment, and in the portal pages in separate windows. They're still supported, but they're no longer accessible as objects that you can insert into your report. However, we've got a bunch of new capabilities and visualizations that we're going to be able to use in both the reporting and in the dashboarding environment. The biggest change that we're seeing is the Flyout Panels. What they're using this in lieu of all the icons that they had going across the top of the screen, so that they have less clutter on the screen. So visually, you can focus on what you're working on. And the new dashboarding environment is something that's not compatible with the reporting environment. It's completely separate. The old reporting and new reporting environments are both still XML based. And so our content, we can still save the XML for them and save them off. The new content has to go through an export if you want to do backups, and the XML really is not translatable between those two environments. Kind of a technical note. From a security standpoint, the security roles that you had before still work. They're changing the names from BI report authors to analytics users. OneNote is the consumer role. It inherits the capability of doing dashboarding. Now, when you look at the new dashboarding environment, you're going to see, if you go out on the internet at all and take a look at some of the other resources that are documenting it, you're going to see a lot of other capabilities that aren't necessarily delivered here in our UltiPro BI. And Ultimate really has kind of tailored the environment to kind of limit what you can do, and it's still effective, but there's some capabilities like external data and things like that bringing into the dashboarding that are not turned on. So those are conversations you can have with your UltiPro rep, and you know, maybe they'll change their position on some of those other capabilities. But the important part from a security standpoint is your data. Again, if you've done any kind of security definition of role level security in UltiPro Web, where say a supervisor can only see the people who report to that supervisor, that same hierarchy of security applies to UltiPro BI. So understand that great capability that you had before in BI still applies. So no one's going to be able to get into your data that they're not allowed to get into unless you allow them to. So here's a quick view comparing the two environments. We had all kinds of icons and capabilities. It was rather easy to find them all in one place. I must admit, I was pretty used to it, having worked as in the environment for about 12 years. And then versus the brand new environment in the report development area, they give us what are called context menus. So depending on what we clicked on, and in this case, this is a list, it gives us one set of capabilities or icons that we can do. And they're usually in places very close in proximity to the objects that you clicked on. So if you're clicking on the page, or if you're clicking on a list or a data item, they'll be pretty close to it. But what I'm seeing is that most of the capabilities that we had in the system in Cognos 10 are showing up in these new context menus. I have seen these context menus get in the way. They might hover over your title area, but you can work around that. One of the cool new capabilities in our report development environment is the preview mode. And really it could be activated when we're working on a report. It could be activated by clicking on this little eye, and you'll get a drop down menu that allows you to go into preview and or switch between design mode and preview mode. But what it lets us do now is give us that Query Studio feel, where we can just drag and drop data and preview data as we're developing our report. And I'll do a quick little demonstration on how that works. That's really nice. It was a nice feature in Query Studio, but of course Query Studio was very limited on what it could do, only allowing you to do a single query. Of course, Report Studio gave you the ability to do multiple queries. So between these two slides, I'm just showing that I'm going to introduce or insert an ethnicity data item between these two columns, and you'll see that it re-renders the data and the counts by the new fields. It's really a slick capability. If you want to do some data exploration in the report area, you can today. And there's some more manipulations of data within that report environment that you can do. So we're going to jump out of this PowerPoint and we're going to jump into Cognos Analytics. And actually, I'll start giving you a quick little guide. Laura, do we have any questions?
So far, so good.
All right. So I'm going to hit escape here, and we're going to jump out to our demonstration system. Understand that none of the data that you see here is sensitive, of a sensitive nature. It doesn't represent, anyone's database or real people. So, be at ease about that. So here is the actual live system, the home page, the welcome screen. This is your landing point when you log into the system. Now, I'm going to hit hold the control button down and scroll the wheel forward or backward. This is forward, so it makes it bigger. So you're seeing it switch the navigational panel. You'll see it switch from icons as I roll back, icons to actual descriptions. Whatever you're comfortable with, you can scale it however you like. You're also seeing some of these new dots, these green dots throughout the screen here, and they are going to give you tips on what these areas actually do. And you can look at these as long as you want to, and when you've seen them all, you can turn them off just by clicking this little link that's available on each one of the pop-up boxes. There's one over here, okay? And so you can just click. Now, the biggest thing that's changed here is that, like I said, is it's using Flyout menus. The three dots, or what is called the ellipse, is for more, okay? We had that same more link over in Cognos 10, but throughout the system, you're gonna see it, the three dots associated with all kinds of content. You're seeing it here in our most recent reports that we've run. It brings up additional context menus, capabilities that we have available to us. Up here, we can actually create a dashboard and assign it to be our login screen instead of this welcome screen if we want to. We have the ability to look at notifications, notifications being we can actually configure the system, or you can on an individual basis, to deliver reporting, particular reports that have been updated. And then we saw the same person icon in the system before, and it gives us access to some of the preferences and settings that we had, especially schedules and things that we own. And of course, the help button, kind of tells us what version of Cognos and ownership by IBM. So, so we have our navigational panel. We have our most recent information. It'll show you your top 6 or most recent 6 reports that you went into. We can click on show more and it'll go further down the list of most recent stuff. We also have that same capability, but more detail of the most recent reports that we ran. This really makes it easier than navigating through all the different folders down through UltiPro into your departmental folders or development folders. We could get right to the things that we worked on most recently or ran most recently.
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
May I jump in while you're talking about reports with a quick question?
May.
Okay, I know you've touched on this a little bit, but one thing that was mentioned was that some clients of ours have expressed that they didn't know where to find reports. So I think this part's probably particularly valuable to those couple that have asked that question.
We are right there, yeah.
Good.
So we had, in the version that we had before, in version 10, we had public folders and we had my folders. My folders has been renamed to my content. It's really that simple. So my folders, instead of it being on a tab, is right here as a new icon called my content. And then you can navigate up and down. The public folders that we're all familiar with is called team content now. So this list is a little bit longer, but you'll recognize some of these. And it's common for every single UltiPro BI environment. You've got BI content, resources, sample reports, then your company and portal folders. This is exactly this is sitting on top of the exact same file system or content store that we had before. You haven't lost any of your reports. So if I want to navigate down to my company, this is the demo company. We navigate down to UltiPro. That should all be familiar to each and every one of you. We've got Mosaic content. We've got departmental folders. All of our reports are still there. So we have subfolders. If I go into that, all I have to do is click on stuff. Now, if I have like an existing dashboard, for instance, I can just click on it. You can tell by the icon that it is a portal page. And you're seeing that we have the same kind of tabular capability that we had before. It's still supported. There are no objects for you to pick from to rebuild something like this, but it's all still there. It all still works. Now, it also opened it up in a new tab. So for me to go back to UltiPro BI, I click back on this welcome. So it's this flyout system. I'm going to go ahead and pull it back to icons. Let's see. So you're going to recognize the icons sooner or later. So this particular environment really does a few different things. We still have the search capability to go through our content. This new search is preloaded much like Windows 10 search is and Windows 7. So if I wanted to find reports that give me dependent information, all I have to do is start typing and it starts listing out either dashboards or reporting information. If I hit enter, it'll open up and give me the full list, and I can actually do some filtering on it. This is way improved over what we had before. We can, reduce the list of that's in our results if we just click on reports, or if I just want to look at dashboards that have that in the name or the description. It'll update the results, the search results.
Hey,
Very
Randy.
nice capability. Yes.
Jumping in, if you don't mind again, we do have a question. Does it find the person listed in the distribution list?
Distribution, like if it's an scheduled email? No, yes. It would not. It would not look at that. It doesn't even look at ownership. So it's really around description and folder names and descriptions for those individual reports.
Got it. Thank you. Yep.
Okay. So a lot of these input fields have this little X to clear that field, and you can do another one if you want to. So if I want to look at payroll, something like that, payroll reports, then I can go ahead and do that. This new search capability is wonderful. I can either run the report here if I want to. I can go right into editing it. As I move down through the list, you're seeing that more button is showing up to the right. That's a very common new functionality that we have in our system. So I can click on it. It gives me the ability to look at the properties. The properties include the ability to change the name. If I look at that, like the description that I was talking about, where it will actually do searches on that, and it'll look at paths. It'll show you the paths if you wanted to embed access to this particular report in other applications like UltiPro. You can do that too. So this flyout menu for the search closes just by clicking on this icon again. Okay, it opens and it closes. All of these are the same way, and you can do this even when you're working on a report. So we've got my content, team content. We've got the home button. This is always there. It brings you right back to this welcome screen. We have recent information. We have the ability to manage. And if you are a system administration person, you have that permission. This icon will show up. If you don't, it won't show up. But this is how you access your administration console. The other part that we have now really replaces our old launch button. Here's our new. This is we're either going to go into our report development environment, our new dashboarding environment, setting up a job. The URL capability is there, but it's not turned on. I think they block it with the firewall. And then the other part of it is they've delivered other applications like Event Studio. Okay, for the most part, most people will only see Event Studio. So that's where our notifications are for like welcome letters or termination letters, emails, things like that. So I just click anywhere else and that menu closes. But if I was to go in and click on just creating a brand new report, this will take me into my new report development environment that replaces Cognos Report Studio. So templates, I encourage you to just primarily use the blank template. The blank active report. Active reports is a very powerful, portable, embedded data type of report. It's much more complicated than the regular reports. It has a different tool set. It has a whole different learning curve on using it. If you get into that by mistake, just close out of it and come back and use the blank template. But you can add additional templates to that list that might help you get started on report development a lot quicker. Now, as we used to launch in Cognos 10, launch into Report Studio, it used to prompt us to open up a package or data model. That is done right here. And we click on the plus, we navigate the exact same BI content folder that we had before. We go to core and we select delivered packages, okay? And once we look at that, I'll pick the administrator package, come down here and just click open. Now I'm pretty much ready to start working on report just like I did in Report Studio. It gives me the same exact model that we had before, the same view, almost in the exact same place. Now we had the model, we had the toolbar, we had some tabs to look at the source and data items that we have in our queries, and all of that stuff is still there. So if I want to navigate down to my employee information and my sub-employee folder, I have all that capability. Now I can either drag and drop this information straight over to this development or design area. I can do that, or I can start out by clicking the plus. I can start it out by asking for a list or a crosstab or a chart, a table for layouts, however I want to design it. But just as easily as I was able to before, I can start grabbing information out of my package and dragging it right on here. Now, Cognos Analytics is making some decisions for us about the information that we're dragging and dropping, okay? Now you're also seeing this context menu because this list is selected. Now we had some capabilities of seeing what the kind of object was called the ancestor button. It's now located here in the properties button. Now this has a little bit different of a list or a menu of icons. We still have more notifications. We can still get to those things, and we can still go back to our home page. Okay. Nothing has changed, okay? We still have the ability and access to navigate our folders, pull up additional content, and this little drop down here in the top keeps track of what we've already opened, and I can go back and forth between the welcome area and, which is the navigation for all our folders, and the reporting environment. This is really pretty slick. So inside the report area, development area, we have our data area, we have our toolbox, which has our list of favorite things that we use the most. But this is the toolbox that we had to insert blocks and page numbers and dates and do prompting. All of the capabilities that we had before, we have now here in this toolbar, and indicated by the hammer. So we have our data items, we have our toolkit, we have our page explorer, which used to be in the middle here, and our query explorer. Some of the neat things that are happening here with this new environment is that we have better visibility than we had before. I can close this part. I can make the work area much bigger without having to scale. I can close the properties. So I have a bigger palette to work with. Now, one of the neat things that we have, if I wanted to create more than one query, I can do that right here. If I want to just click on it and hit delete, I can do that too. If I want to look at joins and that view, that same view that we used to have of our queries, that would happen here. So if I was to click on this and hit Control-C, allow that in my clipboard, click on the query view and paste, I have that same capability that I had before. Now that we're working with queries, we have a lot of capabilities here that we can do. We can bring these two in, I can drag, I can drop, and I can go do cardinality almost exactly in the same view that we had before. I'm going to scale this too. Yes, Laura.
We have another question. What if someone cannot see the toolbar hammer?
I would do the control and scroll.
Okay.
You should see it. That's standard one. That you won't see this until you get into the report development area, though. If you're just over here at the home on the welcome screen, you're not going to see it. So if I scroll back, control scroll, I get the icons. You only see the folders in this. So it depends on where you're at. And a lot of the things that happen in our environment here, our development environment, are really associated or tailored around what part you're working on of a report. And just like we had before in Cognos 10, we had the pages, report pages, we had the query section, we had the condition explorer, and we had report properties, we had prompt pages. All of those things are here. So this icon here, when you hover on it, says pages. We've got our report pages here. We have our prompt pages here. When I go to the toolbar, I can drag a new page in as a prompt and put that back in. I also have my undo and redo buttons. Those are up here, and those things are typical. So, and throughout the reporting environment. So whether I'm working on queries or report pages, I have that ability to undo or redo commands that I just had recently done. I think it's around 18 or 20 different, has a memory of 20 different steps. What is more prominent, I guess, what we had before is very similar, is the play button. The play button is another flyout that gives us the ability to run the report anytime from anywhere, and we can run it in any particular format that we want to. Didn't really mean to click on that. But I'm going to go back here into our report. I'll click on that drop down. They've reduced the list. It used to have Excel 2007 and some other capabilities. They've reduced that to just be Excel, CSV, XML, but they're all there. So all of our capabilities are there. I'll click on HTML. It'll render the report that we had, which just includes employee number and name. This interface is a little bit faster. Now you might just get a little confused about these new tabs that are open here, but you can always, click wherever you want to and go back. This is the output. This is the Cognos viewer that we're accustomed to. But there's a new capability here in the system called interactive, full interactive capabilities. There are two Cognos viewers out there now. One that's more traditional with the Cognos report under Cognos 10 report viewer, but this new full interactive capability gives us the ability to take a report and interact with it. If I want to filter this list, I can down here with this context menu. If all of a sudden, let's go back and let's introduce some other items from our data model into this report. I'm going to go back to page 1. And so I'm going to grab some data, not from our query that we've created, but I'm going to grab, say, job family, for instance. I can double click like I could before. I can drag it and position it at the end of the list or whatever I want to do there. Now, if I run it again, it opens up a new window. You don't have to close this each time. It'll overwrite this same window. Now, when I click on a particular column, I have the ability to group while the report is running. So this is new capabilities. I can add sums. I can add counts. If I click here, if I want to do sorting, I can do that. This is really pretty handy. And this is without going and running the report, having it opening a brand new window, and then you can actually do this while you're doing development. Now, I'm going to go back to the welcome screen, And if I open up a very similar report and I run it, I just click on the name, it opens it up, and it shows me kind of the same capability. Okay, I have the ability to interact with it. Because as a default, the system will use the new full interactivity in the new browser. So one of the neat things is, as I'm running it, instead of having to go back and open up Report Studio and modify it, I have the ability to engage this new edit button. So once I click on it, it puts me back into page design mode. Actually, it's in demo mode, but I'm seeing my page and toolbox and query explorers, what we had before, but I'm seeing the real data over on the page. Very nice. You're going to get used to it. It's a lot easier, better visibility, less screen clutter. And then you have the properties pane that we're very used to. You're going to see that change content depending on what kind of objects you're clicking on. Now, once you look at this, I haven't seen hardly any differences between what we had before in our other panel and the different areas that we're in, like in our queries. If I come in here, I click on a particular data item, I can look at sorting, I can look at all the different properties that I had before. Even when I double click on an item, it brings up a dialog box that's almost exactly the same. It's just using different graphical elements that draw this new box, but it still gives us the same number of tabs that we have for our queries versus the data sources, the functions that are available from Cognos, the parameters that were created along with it. We can look at error conditions when we do validation. So there's all the capabilities I'm seeing, almost all of them are still there. Some of the tricky things that, since we can't see, well, how do I unlock my report? Something that a developer is very familiar with. If they want to insert information into a particular cell, that's over here on the More button. It's at the entire report level. So I can toggle between locked and unlocked right here, okay? I also have the ability, after I validate a report, to clear the parameters that I selected while I was doing validation. That's here. Other report options here exist up here as well. One of the things you'll see that's either handy to do or not handy to do is when we are dealing with numerical values, Cognos now will automatically add your summary lines. It'll try and do counts or totals or averages automatically based on how the model is set up. And we can actually control whether we like that or not. If we don't, we can go into the options for the report and turn that off. Here is another thing too, with the using, whether you want to use the full interactivity or not. If you want to go back and use some of the capabilities you had in Cognos 10, you can just turn this to no. As a rule, it defaults to yes. Now the difference is, when we had the ability to right-click on a page, we had the ability to run just that page. If we had a multi-page report with 3 or 5 different pages, we could just render a single page. Well, it's no longer on this menu. Well, if we turn this interactivity off, we can now right-click, and there it is. Now this will render in HTML automatically, and then if you wanted to re-render it in another format, you can. So it's one of the capabilities. The thing with the view, it's much different than the tabs that we were used to. We can switch between the queries that we built that make up the report, or we can go back out to our data source. So these are some of the interesting things that they've done. I really like them as I get more and more used to them as well, because I can switch between queries and look at the differences if I want to. Another difference here is the Condition Explorer. When I look at queries, the conditions are stored under this icon here. So here I would go in, I still have the ability to go out and do Boolean variables and expressions. I can add these and do conditional formatting on my report. Just a little bit different on where you find them. I'm clicking on the Query Explorer and there's the new icon for the Condition Explorer. Pages, multiple pages. I click on this guy and the toolbar, and then I can pull in a new page. If I want additional data, I'll probably want to navigate to either my report or to my queries. Probably look at my page. If I want to go back up here and insert some additional data, I can. Some other capabilities here that we have, and I'm just going to flip this out, is exploring your data a little bit. So if I want to bring in gender code, for instance, oops, I don't want to do that. If I want to do a visualization, for instance, I can click on that, on the plus, click on visualization. Here is a new inventory of different capabilities that we have. Area charts, bubble charts, people love those. Our normal bar charts, either horizontal or vertical. We have packed bubble charts, which give you different sizes based on the metrics that you're wanting to report on. Mapping, pie charts were good. Their interfaces or their actual design are a little bit flatter, but they're more scalable. But you can explore your data pretty nicely in here. One of the things that I've always wanted is the ability to go through here and search for items that I'm looking for in our data model. Well, they didn't do it here in the report environment. I think they were just rolling out this new reporting environment with as much of the same capabilities as they had before. But they did roll it out in the dashboarding environment. So when I click on plus, I open up the dashboarding environment. I'm going to have to do kind of the same exact thing, pick a template on how I want my dashboard to be laid out. I'll just double click on freeform. And this new environment is really slick, but it's still going to require me to open up a data source exactly the same way I did before. I hit plus, I go to BI content, I open up my core, delivered packages. I'm going to select the administrator package again, open that up. But here, even if you want to use this as a search tool instead of going back to the administrator package spreadsheet that Ultimate makes available to us, this will load up the same exact package, I mean, graphically a little bit different font, but hopefully I'm not frozen. Laura, can you still hear me?
Yes, Randy, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, my internet is down here temporarily. Oh, it's coming back.
There we go.
All right. Sorry about that. Comcast is doing some work in the neighborhood, I guess. I don't know if I'm back up or not. Still says no internet. See if I can get that to open. Now I'm back up. Good. So here's the same exact package. Now we have a new icon up here, a search icon. If I want to go out and look for, let's see, I want to say just salary, something simple. Now it's going to show me all the data items that I had that contain anything about salary information. Now you still have to be careful about which area you're going to grab salary data items from, but this is a cool new capability that we didn't have before. And this new dashboarding environment, like I said, is not compatible with the reporting environment, but it does have some really great capabilities in terms of exploring your data. And I'll just drag a few things in here and show you what I'm talking about. I'm opening up the same employee folder from our employee information. I'm going to grab, how about I just grab job family and pull it in. Cognos will do some decision making for us, and it'll select a chart type or a visualization type for us automatically. They call it a cognitive capability. I'm going to pull in the count field, and so I can get some quick counts by job family. And we just didn't have this capability before. Now we do, and it's pretty slick. My system's a little bit slow. Now you'll notice that it's just showing one for everybody. And that's just one of those things that this will do with that count, because the aggregation is not set to sum up. So all I have to do is click on the More button, go to Summarize, click Sum, and we'll get something that looks more meaningful. So now all of a sudden, if I want to introduce job family in here and get some color in this, I can just drag and drop this here. The same exact data item I can drop in here. If you got it. See. You can tell by that vertical line that you're in the right area. And it re-renders as we're working on it. So I'm going to collapse this little dialog box. I now have scalability, full scalability. If I want this to go across my entire screen, I can. Now, just by dragging and dropping some of our data items, we have that capability of exploring our data a little bit more. I can go out and grab another visualization. If I want to add to this particular screen, I can maybe pull in a word cloud. And I can do the same thing that I did with job family. I can bring that in. It'll give me all the job families. We're running a little slow here. It'll bring back up the data model, right where we were. We're still opened up. Just a little slow. I can bring that in as our words. There's no scale until I put some kind of sizing in here. Again, I'm going to go grab employee count, which is built into the model. And I get that vertical line. That should be good. I'll bring back in the job family to give it some color. Again, it's doing the one thing here. So I'm going to set the sums on the summarization level. Now it'll give me some scale in those words. And that's what word clouds do, is they size and they give you an idea visually how big one thing is versus another. It'd be useful to do this with job codes, earnings plans, benefit plans, that type of thing. And last thing I'll do is probably drag in color just to give those same words a little bit different colors to distinguish them. Now we can, like I said, drag and drop and reorder, size these visualizations any way we want to. We have two visualizations on the same screen here. We can look at it full screen. We can get out of the edit mode and have it render for us. I mean, it's just a really nice environment. This is completely different. I can't stress that enough from the reporting environment. I can go back out to my home page, my welcome page. I still have accessibility. It continues to add to this dropdown, and I can go back to my report. I can go between the two. I can't really copy and paste between them, but that's okay. I mean, it just gives me the ability to navigate the different areas of the tool. So that pretty much concludes the tour that I wanted to give you. Hopefully that's going to make people a little bit more comfortable with knowing that you have all the content you had before, knowing that the reporting tool is very, very similar. It has all the capabilities. It's just a matter of playing with it. It's not like riding the bike. You have to use it to retain some of the methodologies and get back to figuring out how to navigate this new tool.
That's
Questions,
great, Randy.
Laura?
Yes, you and I are of two minds. I was about to hop in and say we're at 10 minutes to the hour. So if I wanted to remind everybody about the chat option to send us any questions you may have, and Randy will be happy to address those for you.
Any major questions?
Also, while we have a minute, I just wanted to let everyone know Ceci has just put into the chat box the link to our blog with notes and access to the presentation from today. And again, look for an email from us tomorrow with a link to the recording of this webinar. And if you have not already, remember to like us on Facebook and LinkedIn for more updates on this and other subjects. Questions? I think we must be good, Randy.
All right. Well, feel free to email us and let us know if you have any some training needs or have questions about the environment, how to get to your content. We can definitely help you in those areas.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Have a great day.